What is good people? You are now listening to another episode of Since We Last Spoke with Danny Foxworth. I am your humble narrator, Danny Foxworth, and this is just a placeholder until we get both podcasts going back up in July. So just taking a little time to talk about what's been going on. Today, your boy made it to chapter 44 in his life. So it's a blessing. It is a blessing to make it 44 years. And just another day amongst the living. Can't really be mad about that. And I appreciate the outpouring of love and appreciation and just so much gratitude is my attitude, straight up. And yeah, so since we last spoke, for lack of a better term, last podcast I recorded was on May 21st. And in between then and July, when I'm starting the podcast back up, couple of notable things happened. Most notably, back on May 16th, if you follow me on social media, you know that the two guys that I have on the podcast to do the tournament episodes, Gerard and Mike, they had a podcast called the Board Meeting Podcast. And once a year, whenever the River Dogs go up to Columbia, South Carolina to play the Fireflies, we'll meet up. I'll drive up to Columbia and just chop it up with them and catch a ball game. And again, it's always a good time chopping it up with my guys. And shout out to Mike because he doesn't know anything about baseball, so it makes the conversations that much more interesting. But the thing that really surprised me the most was whenever we left the game, and of course the River Dogs lost. Well, actually, no, they played a doubleheader and they split it, so I apologize. After the twin bill was over, we're walking back to the parking garage, and Gerard says to me, Danny, before you leave, I got something I want to give you. And I'm thinking it might have been something baseball related, like maybe a bobblehead doll or something. Shout out to my guy, Young Dro. And so he reaches into the back of his SUV and he hands me his Roadcaster mixer. And I'm like, bro, what is going on here? Like, are you serious? Because I had my eye on a mixer for the longest, and I was going to buy one like within the next month or two. But I tell you, boy, God be looking out. That's all I can say. I've been really coveting that mixer for a long time, and he just handed it to me. He was like, "Look, we don't do our podcast anymore, and it's not doing any good at my house just sitting there collecting dust. And I know you're knee deep in podcasting right now, so here, it's yours." And then just when I thought I couldn't contain myself, this dude goes back into his SUV, reaches out, pulls out a big plastic container full of all of their equipment. So I'm talking headphones, multiple microphones, another mixer, like cords, like the whole setup he just gave to me. So I'm still getting acclimated with it. And in the interim, that's I'm trying to slowly get my bearings with learning how to master this equipment. Well, that and also your boy needed a break. I mean, I recorded, no lie, I put out a new episode every week for 72 straight weeks. And I was like, you know what? I got to put the car in park for a second. So that's why I haven't been putting out a podcast like you would normally be accustomed to, or at the frequency in which you would be accustomed to. And so July, we're back at it. Since we last spoke and at the plate, we'll be back in full effect. But also going into June, back on June 1st, another podcast that I was just recently a guest on, and my episode came out last week, is the Hilltop Glove podcast. They're based out of Columbia as well. Make sure y'all check them out. It was an awesome time getting to chop it up with them, talking about Raymond Felton and growing up in rural South Carolina, talking about storefront churches and stuff like that. And the fact that the host, DJ Anwat, he did not realizing that he was also a diehard baseball fan such as myself, for which in turn I had him on my podcast after we recorded that episode. So make sure y'all check that episode out. It's episode 111 of the Hilltop Glove podcast. But this same podcast back on June 1st hosted a podcasting 101 seminar at the Richland main library up in Columbia, South Carolina. And so I decided to make my way up 26, just to show my support. And well, not only show my support, but still, you never stop learning. So I took notes and acquired some beneficial information and met some great people at this event. Did some networking and got some guests lined up. And I'm a guest, going to be a upcoming guest on another podcast, which y'all should check out. It's called At the Table with Chef Jay, with a lady by the name of Chef Judy Etheridge, based out of Columbia. She does she does a video podcast on her YouTube channel, and she'll have guests come in and just cook a dish that reminds them of an important part of their childhood, or a familiar dish that they had growing up. And so I'm going to be a guest on there. We're recording on July 29th, and I'm going to be preparing shrimp and grits. And I'm so looking forward to that. She's such an awesome lady. Y'all got to check out her podcast. It's called At the Table with Chef Jay. And before I finish, there's going to be a third podcast coming down the pipe. So one of my former guests, Liz Rennie, who so happens to be the first friend I ever made in my entire life. I had so much fun, chopping it up with her. It was just like old times. And I got such a positive response, especially amongst my friends. And one of my friends shot the idea of her and I doing a podcast together. And so I reached out to her. I said, "You want to give it a go?" And she said, "Absolutely, let's do it." So tentative title is going to be Growing Up Low Country with Liz and Danny. And it's going to be talking about all things low country. So the launch date for that is going to be late July, early August. And yeah, that's what's been going on so far in the world of Danny Foxworth since we last spoke, for lack of a better term. So just keeping y'all updated with what's going on in my life. Juneteenth is tomorrow. I'm looking forward to that. They got an event at the African American Museum in Charleston I'm going to check out, and Woo Wednesday on Wednesday evening. I cannot wait to get my black ass recharge. Man, I missed the last two outings of that, but I'm not missing it tomorrow night. So yeah, that's all that's been going on so far. I'm enjoying this week off, enjoying this birthday. And make sure y'all download, and subscribe to Since We Last Spoke with Danny Foxworth and At the Plate with Danny Foxworth. Make sure that you follow my YouTube page. You can find me at Danny Foxworth 843, where you can find video versions of all the episodes of both of my podcasts. And until next time, y'all be good. Peace.